Hi, I'm Louise, the model maker here at Timbertips, and I'm going to show you how to get through some of the trickier stages of building a Timbertips model. Today we're going to be looking at building a skateboarder and getting you through some of the trickier parts. So you're on page 12 and you've built this base and the two assemblies. I just want to show you something that's important to note. Push the first one in place without glue. Then pick one of these spacers and wax down each of the thin sides. A bit of glue just centrally down, not too near the edges. And put in place, I'll just spin that round for you. Pushing that up against, but not too tight, that's got to be able to move. So just do that backwards and forwards a few times just to move the spacer. Same with this one. I would wax these as well. Slide it in place. Wax one of the sides only in this case. Glue down the centre and put the spacer in place. Push it up but not too tight and move that backwards and forwards just to get a little bit of a, say, a ½ mil gap. Don't want it too slack. And leave to dry. Just an important note, on page 10 and 11 you're building this assembly. It should be as slack and as free moving as that. If any of the parts, the joints, are a little bit tight, sand them off so that they do, before you put the pegs in, do move as easily as that, otherwise it will impede the model later on. So we're on page 14 and I just want to show you how I glue the cams. So it's quite fiddly. Just run your wax candle around the outside edge of the two large cams. Then thread one on, then one of the spacers shown in the instructions, and then this is where you've got several fingers, the final one through and out the other side. Now I pull the handle back about 1 centimetre and then pull the spacer in the cam and just leave that one cam there. So with that, with the gap, I put some glue around the shaft and then I turn the handle and push that in, and it pushes the glue into that cam without getting any glue on that back edge. Then you can push that cam up because there's usually some glue there to hold it still. Then you do need to put some more glue on for the second cam. I usually have the first cam pointing downwards in line with the handle and then push the second one along, turning it to get the glue right in, and have that one pointing upwards. Now I just give it a good push in and then let go. Do if you saw that move in. Just gives you a slight gap so that cam is not right up against that edge. Now I don't put that spacer on yet, and I'll show you why in a minute. So the glue has dried on these two cams, and now I'm going to show you why we're not using this spacer first. Put glue on the top of the pillar, on top of the edge there, not too near the edge as it might spill out onto that piece which needs to be moving. And then put the lid in place, line up the bamboos, push down. Now then we can put this cam on, because what happens sometimes is when you're lining up the bamboos it forces the sides out slightly, and if you've already glued that cam on and you've forced it tight, you might make the handle too tight, so it's best to get that on. And you know where the sides are going to be and they're not going to either pull inwards or outwards. Then you can just spin that along. There's a nice ½ mil gap. And then leave to dry. put the glue around the inside edge only of the large hole, not too far down, because as you push it up it will get forced down. Wipe any excess off the top and just tilt and push that on and line up that little 3mm bamboo with the fork and push. Wipe any excess glue so it's not going up inside that 3mm hole, and then just wait a couple of minutes just to let the glue start to go tacky, and then turn the handle, and as you can see it should swing left and right. If it's swinging more one way than another, just hold the handle and force it that way, then you'll get a more even swing. I think I can do that even more there. And when you're happy that the swing's even, leave to dry. Right, we're on page 16. I just want to show you the best way to glue this block underneath. Have the skateboard so it's central, which means that one of the cams will be up and one will be down as a general guide. Yeah. Drop that down through that hole. Locate it with the hole on top of that U-shaped block. And it does say to put the little this little piece in place when you do this, but you don't actually need to at this stage. Just drop right down so it looks roughly like that, with that straight. And then when you're happy you've got that and the cameras are pointing one up, one down, just take some glue, lift this little block up, put some glue underneath it and let it drop down so it's nice and central, and that is a nice parallel gap running there. So just move it so that's nice and parallel and everything's in line, and then just leave to dry. So when that block is thoroughly dried, just carefully lift that figure and put out and put to one side. Then take this piece that has the hole in the top and not in the bottom, a little bit of wax top and bottom, and then if you can get hold of a cocktail stick, it's the most accurate for putting the glue inside. Try and push as much glue as you can. It might take 2 or 3 attempts to just wipe the excess glue off and put in place there with no glue or the glue. Lift the figure back in place and drop down through as you did before. Feed it now, you can feel it when it goes into that hole. Tilt the figure, you're not gluing the feet at this point, but just tilt the figure as you would, and make sure that that little joint at the back is nice and flat. And then turn the cam, so the cam, the middle, the first cam you hit, this one, is most of the bulk of it is facing to this end, which forces this in a downward position. You'll see, look, backwards is up, that way is down, you want it down. Get everything lined up, twizzle that just to make sure the glue's really going around that bamboo, and then just leave to dry for a good half an hour. So when that glue has fully hardened, we turn the handle so the cams go in the opposite direction and then glue the feet. Tilt him back, plenty of glue on the feet because they do take quite a lot of force. Put them back down at a slight angle, as you can see. Just pull them apart so there's about 1 millimetre or so gap between them. It does help it work better. And remember, make sure that joint is running nice and flat at the back. There. Tilt the feet. Now you can see that gap. It just stops things rubbing, and then leave to thoroughly dry again. So the last thing to show is on page 18, just fitting the figure on. Just round off the peg that's going to go through here because it's easier to locate. And then put a generous bob of glue on the end of that 2mm peg coming up the back of the leg and fit that in. It's quite tricky. There. And you'll just have to fiddle that about like so. Push through the hole, and then it is just a matter, I'm afraid, of moving it about until you can locate the hole. There you go. And again, you'll have a bit of fun just getting it in the back as well. There. Now, turn the handle, and you'll see that's okay. I think I'd want him to lean slightly more that way, so force that way a little bit and turn the handle till you're happy he's got an even tip from side to side, and then leave to dry.